Protestants can't make up their mind. Some Protestants, like Mr. Kelly and others, say if you just quote Scripture, you're a Protestant. If you just quote Scripture, you believe in Sola Scriptura. And then you have other Protestants like this being like, just because you quote Scripture doesn't mean anything. I mean, he says that Mormons quote Scripture, Jehovah's Witnesses quote Scripture. He says Richard Dawkins and AI quote Scripture. Heck, he says Satan quotes Scripture, which is exactly the arguments I give to other people who believe in Sola Scriptura. That you just quote Scripture and you're a Protestant. You quote Scripture and you believe in the Bible alone, which is silly nonsense. But this man's now saying the opposite. Oh, you can't, just because you quote Scripture, that doesn't mean anything. We agree. You know, just because you quote Scripture doesn't mean anything. As he rightly said, the devil can quote Scripture. Does Mr. Kelly think the devil is a Protestant? Does anybody think that the devil's a Protestant just because he quotes Scripture? Do we think the devil believes in Sola Scriptura just because he quotes Scripture? Or AI, does that believe in Sola Scriptura just because it quotes Scripture? It's silly. But this person's whole point was just because you quote Scripture, and for the record, we agree with the person who wrote this comment. Just because you quote Scripture doesn't mean anything if you don't interpret it correctly and if you don't obey it. That was his point, that you have to obey it. So all these other religions, they quote Scripture, but they don't obey Scripture. Okay, well, who obeys Scripture then? Who properly obeys Scripture? I would like to know. Is it the Mormons? No, he would say. Okay, well, is it the Protestants? Yes. Which ones? Lutherans? Calvinists? They disagree with each other. Or maybe the Presbyterians? Or the Baptists? Or the Pentecostals? I mean, which one? They all disagree with each other on theology and doctrine. So who's properly obeying and quoting Scripture? That's what I would want to know. Assuming that other people don't obey the Scriptures just because they have a different interpretation than you do, that does not mean, in fact, that they don't follow or obey Scripture. It just means they interpret it differently than you do, which comes down to the question of who has the proper interpretation of Scripture. Random thousands of Protestants who all disagree with each other? Or the true church that Jesus started 2,000 years ago and gave his authority to and gave his truth to, who received the truth from Jesus himself? We've been studying the Scriptures for 2,000 years and obeying the Scriptures.